Hello, this is Reverend Dore bringing you that synthesis of religion, science, and psychology that we call religious science or the science of mind, which is the seminal book written by Dr. Ernest Holmes back in 1926 and updated and published in 64 languages since. Get your copy at Amazon.com. You'll be glad you did. Today, let's talk about God's update system according to Reverend Dore. Even though we're only 3 months from 2016 as I write this, heading very rapidly into the third decade of the 21st century, there is still a hot debate over evolution. There are many millions, if not billions, who simply reject the entire idea that species evolve as conditions change and designs prove their efficacy or are rejected by natural selection. I look at natural selection kind of like a test flight for a species or a design change in a species. Neanderthal was a species of humankind, and it became a dead end because it didn't work. They were strong enough, they were big enough, they weren't smart enough, so they died out. I know that evolution is true. I can see evolutions work every day in my backyard. I live in Florida, in Sarasota, Florida, on the west coast of Florida. When I look out my back windows or sit out on my lanai overlooking our lovely pond surrounded by maple trees, and yes, we do have maple trees, I can see our Florida squirrels scampering up and down the trees doing what squirrels do everywhere. Where northern or western squirrels have big, magnificent, bushy tails, their Florida cousins have skinny little tails that look more in common with a rat than the squirrels I knew in California. Why is that? Well, heat and humidity and bushy tails just don't work in Florida, so our squirrels have evolved over time with just the remnant of the usual tail. Our crows don't call the same way every other crow calls. I've never heard a crow call any other way except caw, caw, caw. Ours go, First time I heard that, first day I moved to Florida, I was, what in the world is that? And this lady that was showing me around said, well, darling, that's a crow. Our birds have long legs for wading in water. Everything adapts to a new environment or it dies. Why the argument over evolution? Well, the creationists believe that if evolution is fact, then God doesn't exist or is negated. Why? Could not God, who creates all things, have created the system of evolution? What if evolution is God's update system, rather like our periodic updates to our computers and tablets? Science and God are not antithetical, but are rather complementary. Let's agree on one thing. If indeed there is a God, he or she is not stupid. God certainly did not create the world as it's portrayed in the ancient Sumerian myth that we call Genesis. Bet you thought the Jews wrote that, didn't you? Nope, the Sumerians did way back, 1,500, 2,000 years before the Jews existed. Anyway, it does not mean that God does not exist. Just because we don't believe in the old fairy tale doesn't mean that we can't believe in God. I absolutely know that there is a first cause, a divine mind, a creator of all that exists. And the reason I know that is because the universe is just too well engineered and planned to be random. There's an architect, there's an engineer on this job site that planned this meticulously. This is not random, throw it together. DNA is a great example. DNA is one of the greatest engineering feats of all time. Could we do that? Could we create DNA? I don't mean fiddle around with it and modify it. I mean create it. The answer is no. We, with all of our science and our technology, we can't even get to Mars right now, much less the stars. A little aside here. In 1969, when we landed on the moon, I had just gotten married and begun my teaching career. And I'm 70 years old now. And you know how much progress we've made since then? Absolutely none. I thought by now we would have explored every planet in our solar system and probably had several colonies on Mars. None of that happened. I suppose this will change when it becomes a priority again and moves to the top of the human to-do list. I guess we've had a lot of other things on our mind, like fighting a bunch of wars, huh? We can manipulate that which is already created by the Creator, but we do not and cannot create original life. God will still have a job and a place in our hearts as long as there are things to create and people to use them, enjoy them, and cherish them. Yes, evolution is a fact, and so is God. God is the author of evolution. It is her update and regeneration system. Without it, the earth by this time would be a barren ball of dust, devoid of life. Life, evolution, and the universe are not zero-sum games. We can have both God and evolution. The argument is just plain foolish. Think well, speak well, and do well. This is really the secret of life. This is Reverend Dore Jacques Patlian saying, so long from Sarasota, Florida. Be happy, joyous, and happy until we're together again. Bye-bye for now.